If you like this channel and what I do here, please help to support my work by checking out one of my books, available from Lulu Publishing and Amazon.com. Thank you. Hi folks, Carl James here from Electric Media Badness. You join us for another Rewatchable. I'm joined today by Dan Ryan. How are you doing, mate?
Hello. Well, watchable in my case. Watchable
for you. Yeah, this is a bit of a strange one because, to set the stage for it really, you and I had a conversation a few weeks back.
Yeah, we were flicking through basically everything you own.
Yeah.
Looking for stuff to do videos
which was
on.
a bit of a jaunt because I've got a lot of films.
There's quite a crate of films.
Yeah. I mean, you and I took because we've done TV shows so far in the videos. They're not going to be in that order, but we're doing.
There's quite a few things.
Yeah. But we're going to do some films, and we talked about films, and I mentioned to you Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones, and I nearly fell through the floor because you'd never seen it.
I have not watched Indiana Jones.
You'd never seen Indiana Jones,
no.
Which I was gobsmacked because I thought everybody in the world had seen Indiana Jones, but obviously, I mean, not everybody, but I thought everybody in the Western world of a certain era and age and whatnot would have seen it. Anyway, we had a bit of time on our hands, which is a rarity these days, isn't it? But yeah. And we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark, which, I mean, as I was saying to you, I had this film before DVDs came along with that and everything, before I've even pre-recorded videos, I had Raiders of the Lost Ark taped off the television. Yeah. And there's a point in the film where we were watching it, which where a certain symbol from the Yahtzees, we should call them for the purposes of YouTube censorship, starts to burn away on the crate of the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I said to you that when I recorded that, my version of that for many years was the bit where it cut to the 10 o'clock news on the ITV. So we will return to Raiders of the Lost Ark after the 10 o'clock news. So that was way back in the 80s. That film I probably wore out. And then, I soon owned it pre-recorded video. One of the first things I owned on DVD. But strangely, it's not something that I've yet got around to buying on Blu-ray, which is almost sacrilege, really. But
well, there you go. That's what I'll get you for Christmas. I know what to get you now.
But I mean, I said, well, we've got to rectify that. That. So we sat down. We watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, I don't know where to begin. Let's start with you first of all. What did you think?
It was as good as I expected it to be, which is very good.
Yeah.
I mean, nice to finally watch it and know it as not that one where the guy swings the sword and gets shot.
Yeah. I mean, for me, Raiders of the Lost Ark it was one of about half a dozen films that I watched on rotation as a kid. Star Wars, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
God, you used to watch so much better stuff than I did. I swear,
Aliens was another one.
Literally,
although I was too young to watch it really, because it was 18. But
for me, literally Star Wars, right? And other films that I don't even know the name of anymore. I can describe them, but I don't know what they're called.
Yeah. But I mean, I watched those films to death. A lot of other films I watched as well, but they were the ones that were in regular circulation for me, probably once a week. And Raiders of the Lost Ark was another one. And I liked all the Indiana Jones films, but it's still my favourite. I've got a bit of a strange relationship with Indiana Jones because in terms of what other people like about Indiana Jones, I kind of don't fit the mould, because Last Crusade, the third one, I mean, I'm talking about stuff that you don't really know about, but it's held up amongst Indiana Jones films as being like one of the best, or the best for some people. I don't like The Last Crusade at all. Fundamentally, my biggest problem with the film is Sean Connery. I'm not a big fan of Sean Connery. I didn't feel the need to bring Indiana Jones' dad into it, the character he plays in it, but I really like, as a second favourite for me, is The Temple of Doom, which is a very dark film. It's got a lot of strange sort of occult stuff in it, which is the researcher that I am, really I shouldn't, but Raiders of the Lost Ark is the same one as well. We're going to discuss the themes of the finale of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is very, very peculiar in terms of occult type stuff and things like that, But certainly it's very true. It's based in the respect that it's based upon this idea that the Yahtzees, as we'll call them for the purposes of YouTube censorship, were very much obsessed with occult artifacts and technology and science and ritual and all this kind of thing. Whether they ever did go looking for a proverbial Ark of the Covenant, who knows? But
they probably did.
They probably did.
They probably
did. Yeah, and I know there is a lot of literature out there. This is fact-based stuff, you know, about that sort of thing, that they were really, really fascinated with that, which is a great premise for these films. Came about as a result of Steven Spielberg wanting to direct a James Bond film. George Lucas came along and says, you know what, I've actually got something even better than that. I've had it sitting collecting dust on the shelf for a bit. Not fully formed as such, but it went through Kaufman, the story, with George Lucas, and then they brought Lawrence Kasdan on board, and in the days when he was actually a good screenwriter. Of course, that was it. You know, Lucas produced, Spielberg directed. We were looking through the end credits and all the names of the people.
Oh, yeah, literally anyone who did anything good in the 80s, they're probably in that.
Of the late 70s, early 80s, you know, all those films. The real sort of pioneering people of ILM, Industrial Light and Magic and all that, which is strange really, because there's not a lot of special effects in Raiders of the Lost Ark really. There's the finale sequence.
I think that was real.
And the staff, you know, with the beam, with the Well of Souls and all that kind of thing. Other than that, it's very practical models, practical effects, you know, explosions, pyrotechnics, stunt work, all that kind of thing. It puts to shame a lot of the films that are made nowadays.
It does. It looks a lot better than.
Yeah, it holds up really well. Yeah, really well. There's never a point in that film where I thought, oh, that looks. You can see the matte lines. You can see, you know, all this. You know, the Yahtzee car that drives off the cliff with the, you know. I mean, that was presumably matte paintings, you know, and that. But
the one bit with that scene though is. The way it was filmed, I couldn't really tell that they were by a cliff.
Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, that, because
I was like, huh?
Where would that have been? All of a sudden there was like a Grand Canyon thing, wasn't there?
They're going through like the jungle or whatever. The desert-y,
yeah.
but with loads of trees.
Trees, yeah.
So they're going through the desert with loads of trees, and suddenly there's like a ravine.
Yeah, like the depth of the Grand Canyon,
Like where did this come from?
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're just like trees both sides.
And interestingly, a very similar thing happens in The Last Crusade as well to that, with a big, all of a sudden there's a massive drop. Yeah. But it works. It looks really good. You know, it holds up really, really well. And when we look at like the hugely CGI laden heavy films that are around today, it really holds its own.
I think that's a big reason for that. Is because it like obviously it's not a realistic movie, but it tries some of the like things that like. The way that characters move and the way things happen during action are relatively realistic. Yeah. Which is why it looks you know, it's not like someone flying around doing like a million backflips or whatever.
What I like it, you're absolutely right. I mean, you say that. I mean, the truck chase sequence when Indy's sort of like elbowing, all that kind of thing, and you're thinking, but you do suspend your disbelief for it, and you laugh at it as well. I mean, I find, you know, it's a great action film, but it's also a very funny film. Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's loads of funny things in it, mainly centred around the way Indiana Jones dispatches people and
the way he gets rid of the naughty boys.
The way he gets rid of the naughty boys. Yeah. But you do suspend your disbelief, and what that is a credit to good world building. We talk a lot about Star Trek, and we've talked about Star Wars and Doctor Who and things like that. And you and I are a fan of lots of science fiction. You know, like things like Battlestar Galactica and Babylon 5 and all these classic science fiction shows. And what really keeps you in there is believable world building. Good characterisation, stories that progress, move along, and there's never a point, I feel, and it's funny actually, because there's only 3. There's a beginning sequence with Boulder and all that kind of thing. There's the fight in the town square in Cairo. There's the truck chase. There's not many action sequences in it when you think about it. But it never feels boring.
No.
It rattles along, the story does. It never feels like it's dragging.
Even when they're just people talking, it's still interesting.
Yeah. So anything else? I mean, there's a few things I want to say. I mean,
it's weird how they do it, because it's like when you are like, say, the end sequence where the naughty boys get dispatched up and melt,
which is a great sequence. It's horrible, but it really is good. Yeah. Funnily enough, that we when I was at school, so going back way when the dinosaurs were roaming the earth, we were allowed to pick at the end of term a film to watch.
Yeah.
And one of the kids brought in Raves of the Lost Ark, and then the teacher stopped the film 5 minutes before that. At the end of the film, we weren't allowed to watch that. The face melted. So yeah. Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
So like, okay, this couldn't realistically happen. But when there's during some of the fist fights, you're like, okay, this could happen. Mm-hmm. Like, they do a really good way of, like, you just automatically know when to suspend your... You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And what I like as well is, like, overly... Not making the characters overly too skilled or powerful. Yeah. I mean, like... There was a story about why Harrison Ford didn't fight the sword wielding maniac, and the telescope and all that. I think he had dysentery or something like that at the time. He got some food poisoning or something really, really ill. Running temperature, and he just said, "Can't I just shoot him?" And that. So that. But some of the fighting as well, when he's fighting Pat Roach by the plane and all that, he punches proper, and he just collapses on his arse, doesn't he? I mean, nowadays they'd be like, put them through the wall, or and it's clearly mismatched in size and body build. And another thing as well is we talk about, people of lesser build up against big, built like a brick, big brick privy. Karen Allen is worth talking about her as well, because Marion Ravenwood, really, really strong female character, yet she's not doing the sort of like punch, karate kick, I mean, she's got the machine gun going on the plane at one point. Yeah. She's whacking people over the head with saucepans and pots and stuff like that. But she's not like, got like Pat Roach up against the wall. You know what I mean? So there is a realism to it.
Yeah.
Male and female.
Yeah.
It's what would you be able to stand your ground against somebody twice your size?
Yeah.
And that's something that gets very much forgotten now in television and cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're right. That it's within that realm of realism, isn't it? Yeah. Speaking of Marion Ravenwood, I don't know whether I should be confessing this on camera or not, but one of my crushes when I was a kid.
Do we need to go any further? I think we understand.
I was besotted. The two characters that I loved as a kid,
Indiana
Red Blood
Jones.
is no.
And the Xenomorph from Alien.
And the Xenomorph from Alien.
What a dream. Getting a bit frisky thinking about it.
So you took me off a tangent now. No, Princess Leia, obviously. Yeah, and Marion Ravenwood, and I used to know somebody, I won't mention names here, but I used to know somebody who used to think that Kate Capshaw in Temple of Doom was like the best, what they call the Indiana Jones girls, because there's a different one, in each one, a bit like the Bond girls sort of thing. But no, that is why, and as much as people hate on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull that came, it came back many years later, they brought back Marion Ravenwood for that film, and that for me is absolutely the right choice. I didn't want to see Willie Scott be brought back, Kate Capshaw's character. I wanted to see him, they were the best pairing, Indy and her. And she plays it. Her acting is fantastic in it.
It is very good.
Really good. Yeah.
Well, all of it's really good.
Which is a good segue into the rest of the cast. Amazing cast. Denham Elliott as Marcus Brody, John Rhys Davies from Lord of the Rings and Sliders and all that, as playing Salah. Asps, very dangerous. You go first. He gets some of the best lines. Yeah, he really does. He's brilliant in that. And Ronald Lacey as well as Tote, the Black Pacamac Yahtzee leading. He gets what should we talk about? we are not thirsty. And when he comes into the tent as well, and he gets that thing out of the bag, and you think it's going to be like some sort of torture device, and it's a coat hang over his coat. Yeah, brilliant. And the bit with the medallion in his hand as well when he's running around in the snow. Yeah, great. Yeah, and Belloc as well. You know, these characters and the actors that play them. You know,
it's basically everyone who helped in some way to make this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is very good at what they do.
Even Alfred Molina's brief appearance at the beginning of the film. You know, they're all. There's nothing. It's flawless casting, flawless characters. You know. So there's two other things. Well, for me, I'll come to the music in a moment. But Harrison Ford. Now, I think, and again, this might be a controversial thing to say, but I actually think that Indiana Jones is the thing that should be put on Harrison Ford's tombstone in terms of, or his obituary in terms of. Deckard, you've got Han Solo, all these characters that are memorable characters and not so memorable characters as well. And I'm sure most people would say Han Solo, but for me, I think his best acting, best, and he seems to be the character that he's had the most fun playing as well. You certainly get that impression that he really enjoyed working on the Indiana Jones films.
Well, the fact that he didn't want to really come back for Star Wars, and the fact that he is going to do a new Indiana Jones,
as we gather,
yeah. Well,
I mean,
as one would, yeah.
But he was there to come back for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yet you know they had to hefty paycheck him, and promise that they'd kill the character off to get him back for The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what the deal was with Blade Runner 2049. Was it because he did not enjoy his experience working on Blade Runner at all? So how him being brought back for that, I really don't know. Maybe it was something to do with Ridley Scott not directing it, or not having Sean Young there, who they had a horrible working relationship on set apparently. But who knows? But yeah, I'm digressing. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that about Harrison Ford, or whether it is, you know.
Well, I think I'd have to watch the rest of the films before I
that's
could
fair
judge
enough.
between the two.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'm sure there may well be other people out there who agree with me on that one, but I'm sure the consensus would be no Han Solo, you know, or something like that. But no, it seems to be. I think he's great as Han Solo.
Yeah.
But for me, he will always be. It's like when they talk about Sean Connery or Roger Moore, they're always going to be James Bond.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver is always going to be Ellen Ripley, you know.
Which
is, you know, that's not a bad thing to be remembered for one role above and beyond all the many other roles that they've ever played. And for me, it's Indiana Jones, you know, with Harrison Ford. Yeah. He carries that film brilliantly, really does.
Yeah.
And I would actually say that's true of all of them. Although I feel he gets overshadowed a little bit by Sean Connery in The Last Crusade. So, unless there's anything else you want to discuss, for me, the final thing...
John Williams.
Yeah. Again, I'm sure there might be a lot of people that disagree with me on that, but my favourite John Williams film score is Raiders of the Lost Ark. And there are lots of fantastic film scores by John Williams. And they're all way up there, really, really close together, but just a little bit. My love of something is how hummable it is after I've watched it. And I will, as you know, today, for an hour after the film finished, I was going dun 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 dun. You know, dun, 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 dun. It's just so much about it, you know. Even the dun, 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 dun. Oh, sorry, you know, there's so many lovely little bits in it that are just.
I think a little complaint I have with the music is I think they play two songs a bit too much. And that's the one that sounds a bit like Leia's theme.
That one that I've just done there.
And Indiana Jones' theme. Yeah, I think they play that a bit too much.
Yeah.
Like, during like the truck chase, I think it was, it literally plays for like 5 to 10 minutes straight.
But you know what? I never get tired of it. I never ever get tired of it. I've got the tracks. I had them on CD. I had the soundtracks on CD. I've got them on as digital files now. And I will still sometimes sit and listen to them. I really love them. I really love
that's
that
not
music.
to say that it isn't amazing, because it is really good. Yeah.
And I can't think of another television or film soundtrack that I've that come close to that. Some of the Battlestar Galactica, Bear McCreary stuff is up there in terms of television. But yeah. And there's loads of little, theme tunes to things that I love and stuff like that, but it's the one that I think all the way through, running through it.
John Williams, he's just amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to, tempt fate or jinx things with this one, but it'll be a sad day when he's gone because, it's genius gets thrown about an awful lot. And I'm not a big believer in hero worship and putting people on pedestals and that. Credit where credit's due if they do it, but we have to separate the final product, the characters and that, from the real people behind them. I don't know a huge amount about John Williams as a person, but I've never ever read or heard anything about him being anything more than a great chap, a nice chap. And he clearly is very, very talented, at writing music and composing and conducting and that, as he does with his orchestras and that. And there's so much wonderful stuff there. You go back over and you look at his, he'd like the theme tune to the 1960s Lost in Space was by John Williams as well, and Johnny Williams I think he was called then as well on it, and then you've got all these classics like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jaws, Superman, it just Jurassic Park. It just goes on and on and on and on. What an amazing feat to have all this.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. But for me, Raiders really just slightly sits there above all the others. It's what I call that rehummable, like our videos, rewatchables. It's that rehummable quotient to it that does it for me. The longer, the more annoying I am around other people after I've watched something, that shows how much I really, really like it, because I've just kept going with it.
It shows for me as well, because I'm a little bit ADHD as fuck, and when I'm watching things, like a lot of the time, I don't really notice the music. Mm-hmm. Like it's there and it creates the scene or whatever, but I don't really notice it. And if you played me a track from it, I would, like, most of the time I wouldn't be able to tell you where it was from. But John Williams in this movie, in every movie that he does, really stands out.
That's a good thing about you, that you've got a really good, like, almost like an alarm clock there with music, because when it's good, you notice it.
I do know.
You will say the music is good, and you think, yeah, he's right, Yeah.
Because in stuff like, just going back to the other video, like say Picard or Doctor Who or whatever, like most of the music, I don't know, I don't even notice it. I just,
contemporary Doctor Who. I mean, we know all the themes from the pre-Chibnall era.
The ones we've reviewed on this channel.
Yeah. And incidentally, on the very first Rewatchable video we did, we were talking about the Borg, and we were talking about Best of Both Worlds, and you said about the music in that as well, how it stands out. So when it's good, it's there. It gets right up in your face, doesn't it? And or gets up in your ears to be more accurate, and you notice it. Yeah, absolutely.
But a lot of things I don't notice it. But like this, I really noticed it.
Maybe because of the fact that it's repetitive as well. But
maybe.
But there's if something's good, I'm not too worried about it being repetitive. If it's catchy enough, if that was the only. By half a dozen notes to play through the entire film, then I'd be a bit, But So anything else you wanted to say about it before we rate it?
I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, I'm sure there are many stories to tell about. Certainly if you get into the behind the scenes type stuff and all that, and the history and it, But just as a capsule review and rewatch, that is where we are with it. It's a great film, and I don't think I'll ever tire of watching it. It's I mean. Do you know what? I'm going to rate it for the first, because normally I say to you, but
he's going to give it a 10.
I'm going to give it a 10. Yeah, I can't not. No, it's a 10 for me. Yeah.
I think it's one of those films where, like, going back to Lord of the Rings again, it's like that where if I didn't give it a 10.
No, I mean, if you feel that it's not.
If I didn't give it a 10, I feel I'd be wrong and lying. No, because I think I don't mean I don't think it's a 10. I do think it's a 10.
Right. Okay.
But I think, like, if you said like it was bad, you are wrong. Like, kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
You can't say something made this well is bad. Yeah. It's a 10.
Yeah, because there are some times where people will say that film is a classic. That's a 10 out of 10. That's 100%. That's an A plus or whatever. And thinking, well, you know what? It might be in terms of how it's made, acted or whatever, but something about it just doesn't push the buttons for me. I think it's very important to rate things on how you feel about them rather than what other people think they should be.
Yeah.
So if somebody says this is, you're wrong, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
It may well be that it's brilliant, but if you don't like it, you know that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it was a blast anyway.
Yeah. I've always said, I said to you, a mark of a good film for me personally is if I can sit and watch it without clearing off outside for a cigarette or and this is one that I will sit. Yeah, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So with that, we'll end there, and we'll say for now, thank you for joining us, and please subscribe to the channel if you get the chance. If you truly appreciate that, or like the video, put your thumbs up for it, or share it about. I really truly appreciate that as well. And Dan and I will see you again soon.
Yes. Goodbye.
Take care.